just
There's that funny scene where Twilight Sparkle just does Applejack's entire job in like 2 seconds. I
oh
found
yeah,
that kind of
Oh,
hilarious.
at the end of Applebuck season, where she just
Yeah,
levitates all the apples.
yeah, that was like,
yeah.
It's
wow.
It's Mystery Pony Fiction Interviews, co-hosted by Shakespearicles and Leviathan Eclipse, featuring authors from Fimfiction.net to tell us their stories behind their stories.
Welcome, bronies, to Mystery Pony Fiction Interviews. This is a show where I'll be interviewing MLP fanfiction writers that I've made audiobooks for over the last 5 years. I'll be joined by my co-host Shakespearicles, who is the world's strongest writer and OG brony, and Leviathan Eclipse, who has an autistic obsession with reading fanfiction and coming up with headcanons. Each episode, I intend to bring on a new fanfiction writer to discuss themselves and their inspiration for their writing. But here on this pilot episode, I will be starting with Shakespearicles as my first interviewee. So, the first thing I'm going to ask you, Leviathan first, what is your super brony origin story?
Oh boy. Well, I got into the fandom when I was in like middle school. Like, I think the first episode I saw was technically like the last 5 minutes of lesson 0, and like after that, I was like, "Holy crap! This is not. This is actually what. This is actually what I was told it was going to be," because I had this friend group who was like, "Yeah, you got to check this out, man. It's actually really good." And so I did, and got addicted pretty quickly. Stayed on until like, I don't know, season 6 or so, and then I kind of lost interest for like 10-ish years until I came back, and I've been fervently, almost religiously reading fan fiction, like trying to, I guess, play catch up a bit.
Well, I mean, Lesson Zero
But
is a pretty early start. You've been in the fandom for a while.
yeah, well, I mean, like that was like I got it into, like I caught the tail end of it when it was like first airing, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like I got in pretty early, but then like I lost interest, dropped out, and now I'm back, which seems to actually be a pattern among a lot of other bronies I've noticed.
Yeah, I had a break for like 3 years where I kind of it's a long story. I'll probably explain it later. I have in previous podcasts, but let's move on to Shakes. What's your super brony origin story?
Well, I'm what a lot of people would consider to be patient zero. I was in the trenches of the 4chan wars when before the pilot even aired, and we saw the article that had come out saying that the new My Little Pony generation was going to be the death of the creator-driven era. And so we said, "Oh, look, there's going to be a new My Little Pony show. Let's all watch it and make fun of it." And so we did. We all watched the pilot. And of course, the pilot being a two-parter, I watched the first part, and I remember seeing all of these stereotypical female character caricatures. You had the country girl, the fashion girl, the party girl, the shy girl, and the nerdy girl, and the tomboy. And but I really liked the way that it was executed, and I thought, wow, okay, these are fun characters to watch acting the way that they do. Of course, the first half of the pilot ends, and I'm like, all right, well, I have to watch the second half. So I watched the second half, and now after watching 2 episodes, I'm like, wow, that was a really compelling arc just for the first couple of episodes, and it opens it up for a lot more. And I realized, okay, well, now I have to go back and watch it again just to find something to make fun of. And I ran into this problem where, like, I was watching it trying to find stuff to tease, and I just ended up really genuinely enjoying it. And I felt really bad because, like, I knew I was going to go back to the forum and everybody was going to rip this show apart, and I was going to be the only one who actually liked it. But I go back in there, and everyone else is like, "Wow, dude, this show is actually really good." I'm like, "Yeah, it is, isn't it?" And so, of course, I switched immediately into shit posting mode. We just started making tons of My Little Pony memes, using all the meme faces, and the rest is history. Like that was from the start.
Yeah, awesome. So what else are you guys into other than My Little Pony fan fiction?
Well,
Um,
in addition, in addition to being on 4chan, like I came over to the Fimfiction website, and also coming from Equestria Daily, and I started writing fan fiction properly. Well, officially at the end of 2012. I had been running it under a different handle before that, but I actually deleted that account and then started over under Shakespearicles. That account still exists. I never deleted it. It only has one story.
Oh,
If you ever find it, you'd never know it was me, though.
oh, okay. That's an interesting mystery. All right. Well, now we'll go into some of your stories, Shakes, that I've created audiobooks for. Um, you are probably the person that I have made the most audiobooks for, because you're just such a great writer, and I've got really involved in your social community. And yeah, I consider you a good friend. So, I'm going to start with Rarity Fights a Giant Crab because I know that there is a pretty emotional story behind that.
It's Rarity versus the giant crab. Better run before you're sliced and grabbed. It's a seafood nightmare with a city to stab, and she's the only unicorn who's looking fab. It's Rarity versus the giant crab. When diplomacy fails, you improvise a jab. She's got a sword and a temper and a sister to nab. So welcome to the world's most fashionable crab stab.
So, would you like to go into that? Maybe, yeah, like what inspired the story, if there's any interesting things about parts that were hard to write, or and maybe give a synopsis of the story before you start. Um, and I don't know, maybe we can try to have a non-spoiler half and then a spoiler half, and maybe try to make it so that listeners can maybe, yeah, I don't know how this is going to work, but yeah, maybe we'll just go, yeah, there's going to be spoilers. But
All
yeah,
right.
go
Well,
ahead.
yeah. So yes, there are spoilers for the ending, but the gist of it, the meat of the story is Rarity fights a giant crab. A giant crab invades Baltimore, and Rarity fights it. And it's about 3,500 words of Rarity fighting a giant crab. Sweetie Belle is there. Princess Luna makes a cameo. And that's about really all I can say without spoiling it. I had a lot of fun writing it. Um, and then I can talk about why I needed to write it after the spoiler mark, I guess. So if you have any pre-spoiler questions, we can do those now.
Uh, no, I don't think so. We'll just get into it. Get into the.
All right. So if you don't want spoilers for Rarity Fights a Giant Crab, go read that. Otherwise, this is your official spoiler warning. So at the beginning of Rarity Fights a Giant Crab, Sweetie Belle is older. This is like, kind of like season 9, post season 9, when Sweetie Belle becomes a teacher at Twilight Sparkle's School of Friendship. And so she's talking about what she had been teaching. and they'd been talking about the astrological signs because they're based on Luna's constellations and how each one was based on a monster that she had defeated in the distant past, and so they are part of the sky every night, and that's why they're well known. So she goes through all of them, talking about Capricorn and Pisces, the fish, and you've got Leo, the lion, and Scorpio, the scorpion, and then finally she gets to the crab, which, if you know astrology, the crab is Cancer, and that becomes important later on. So what ends up happening is a giant crab invades the city, kind of while they're having this conversation, and Rarity has to fight the giant crab. Well, first of all, Sweetie Belle tries to fight the giant crab first because she's just really brazenly brave and maybe a bit foolhardy. But she ends up getting captured, and Rarity has to fight the giant crab to try to rescue her sister. And late in the fight, the crab ends up killing Sweetie Belle, and in a fit of blind rage, Rarity, kills the crab, based on Luna's advice of how to defeat this ancient monster because she had battled it before. The big reveal is that the entire story is a dream sequence, and it was all a metaphor for Rarity's anger that Sweetie Belle was in reality actually battling cancer. And Rarity has this emotional feeling that it was unfair that Sweetie Belle had to be doing this fight, and Rarity's like, this should be my fight. It's unfair, and she has all this anger inside her. And the message that Luna tells her is that this is not a fight won by destroying what we hate, but by saving what we love. And so when Rarity visits Sweetie Belle in the hospital, she's, she crafts a wig out of her mane and gives it to Sweetie Belle because Sweetie Belle had lost her hair from the chemotherapy. And all of this was written. I wrote this when my wife, Shandy, was going through having breast cancer. So, and she's fine now, cancer free. She's been cancer free for 3 years now, 3 or 4 years.
Do you mind using real names on this podcast?
Well, that's not her real name anyway.
Okay, good.
But that's her fandom name. So, but at the time, while we were going through that, I had a lot of anger inside me, like, that it was unfair that she had to go through this. And I was just so angry. I just wanted to punch the sickness out of her, because it was unfair that she had to have this fight. And so all of that symbolism got poured into Rarity Fights a Giant Crab, which was already a meme. And because Rarity fighting a giant crab, I don't know, I'm not really sure where that came from. Someone requested it at one point. It's kind of like the woman buying Wonder Bread. It just kind of came out of the ether.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was a meme, that it came from a meme.
Oh yeah, no, it was a meme from ages ago, 2012 or something like that.
I know there were other stories called Rarity Fights a Giant Crab, but I didn't know why.
Yeah, no, but the Rarity Fights a Giant Crab meme, the origin of that is it's fairly random. But I've used it in this case because, the crab is the astrological symbol for Cancer. And I thought, oh, hey, this is perfect. I need to write this. And so that's what I did.
Yeah, and you did a really good job. It's one of the most entertaining stories I've read. And Leviathan, if you want to tell us what you thought about the story in general.
When I first came across it and I read it, I thought it was more of a comedy, but then I don't know, just I don't know, reading about this crab picking up ponies and by their manes and then dropping them from great heights and not to mention just. I'm really bad at putting things into words, but it definitely hit me hard. I don't I don't have anyone personally in my life who has battled with cancer, but like that was one of the first like times I read a fan fiction. I was like, holy shit, someone actually like packed that kind of emotional punch into a fan fiction about colorful talking about.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
it
know
was
I've had times when I've thought I might have cancer, and I get the fear, and I fear even going to the doctor to find out or whatever. It's a yeah, pretty awful thing to even think you might have.
yeah, it is kind of a ever-present threat in modern day. But yeah, I was just dumbstruck that like someone was able to write a story that well and like pack um, that much like visceral emotion into like so few words. Um, yeah, it's definitely a eye opener. Um,
Yeah, all right, cool.
yeah, uh,
Anything else you want to say about it, Shakes, before we move on to the next story?
No, that's it.
All right, cool. So the next one that I am bringing up is Weasel Day.
But when Weasel Day arrived, Twilight lost her glow. Oh, when Weasel Day arrived, Twilight lost her glow. Oh, it's Weasel Day, the crowd once more. Smiling weasels open up spring's door. But his loose teeth don't show a smile today. 6 more weeks go and stay. Weasel Day blues, they coming fast. Twilight's plans, they never last.
I've got to be honest, I'm not sure if I really got what the punchline was to this story. Even when I heard it back yesterday, I it was kind of a story that, to be honest, I kind of regretted choosing to read because I didn't enjoy reading it that much. It was a bit confusing to me. No offense to you, of course. But yeah, just tell me what the idea of that story was and kind of what maybe the punchline was that I missed.
All right. So, Weasel Day was written for the 2024 Everfree Northwest Iron Author competition. So we were given 2 hours to write a story, and at the very beginning of that, we were given the prompt, which was 3 words: weasel, smile, and the word gubernatorial, which means relating to state governor or office of state governor. This was right after Deadpool had come out, and at one point he says, gubernatorial in the movie. So that was one of the reasons why they picked that. So based on that, uh, I just threw those together and said, okay, let's say that Twilight Sparkle is governing her kingdom, and so one of those things is being a ceremonial attendant to new holidays. And so they come up with Weasel Day, which essentially is just Groundhog Day, where she has to wake up the weasel and then see whether or not the weasel sees its shadow. And so I took the screenshot from Winter Wrap Up where she puts her head into the cave, the little burrow there, and then the weasel bites her face. Uh, Try not to think about it too much. I clearly didn't. I took fourth place, which was fair, I think. Um, honestly, it was just something that was written as a challenge, literally as
Yeah,
a
I
challenge.
can't imagine how hard it is to just come up with a story out of a couple words. Like, yeah, I barely ever write myself. I pretty much don't write at all anymore because I just don't, I find it too hard. I find it difficult. I find it hard to get my creativity going. I've tried to maybe write something a few times and I tend to always give up. So the fact that you're able to, yeah, write a story out of such a short amount of time and yeah, a couple key words is really impressive. And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, clearly not my best work. This is something I would show to anybody like, hey, this represents my talent. It's just one of those things where it's like in the context of a challenge. that was just, I mean, it took fourth place, which again, it got an honorary mention from one of the judges that said that they liked it, which was good enough for me. The stories that took first, second, and third were clearly better, and I don't mind them taking that over what I wrote. But out of there was at least 30 people in that competition, so I'm just going to pat myself on the shoulder here and say, I did well considering my company.
Yeah, cool. And Leviathan, what did you think?
Well, as one of those 30 people who wrote a story that honestly, looking back on it, really kind of sucked. Um, I basically just wrote a fan fiction of a fan fiction.
Well,
Oh, looks like we have a connection issue there.
well,
Welcome back.
I accidentally pressed the wrong button.
yeah.
Anyways, I basically just wrote a fan fiction with a bunch of meta references that nobody got. Um, I think I actually even forgot to properly submit it. I later had to email one of the judge guys like, "Hey, I never got any feedback on this." They're like, "Oh shit, we didn't actually receive that." So he basically just gave me a basic scoring of here's probably what would have been based on my singular like judging skills, and it was pretty fair criticism. Um, that it kind of was all over the place, which it was. But it was also just a really good learning experience. But it is definitely difficult to come up with a story and write it on the spot like that. I was honestly um, Shakespearicles says that it's not his best work, and true, it's not, but it's also not bad work by any means. I'd say it's still really well written, um, which personally is something that I look to when judging the quality of a fan fiction. Even if the idea behind it isn't the best, I generally judge fan fictions mostly by how well the person puts together their diction and syntax and all that jazz. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it probably showed up in the
and
featured box, which is probably why I picked it.
yeah, yeah. But then again, Shakespearicles also has a loyal following that tend to read a lot of his stuff, myself included, because basically almost everything he's written that I've read is just really good, at least in my opinion. Um, but yeah, on a side note, I entered that competition again this year and got sixth place because I actually wrote a more original story that had an actual punchline.
Yeah, well done. I should probably have a
Yeah.
look at your profile sometime, see if there's anything I'd like to
Oh,
read.
I haven't published it yet,
Ah,
but it, I basically wrote a chapter of a shared story project between me and my cousin. Um, but it was, I don't know, my own original idea of basically what would happen if Twilight and Starlight were sent to uh, Sea Pony Equestria and had to fight a giant jellyfish.
more of fighting giant things.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say about it, Shakes?
No.
All right. We'll move on to the next story. This one I did really enjoy. It was, I think, part of a, it's called The Talk.
It's a wild, mixed-up game of life where every pony's explanation cuts like a knife. From ovens to orchards to weddings and storks, little cheese is learning, but it's not from books. So many answers, none quite right, but little cheese will figure it out by night.
And I think it's part of a dialogue-only competition. And I found it quite enjoyable to, when I was doing the reading for it, to, sort of voice act the different characters. And there was no she said or, he said, or any of that sort of stuff. It was just dialogue after dialogue. And it was fun to just switch up my voice and change it for the different characters. And I think I'm getting really good at that, at least within the scope of the main 6 ponies. I've got like a unique voice that I put on for each one. And so that was a really fun exercise for me as an audiobook reader. And it was also really funny and had a lot of, good jokes in it. So what did you want to tell us about it, Shakes?
Well, as you said, it was written for a dialogue-only challenge, and it wasn't. And as you mentioned, it's purely just dialogue, as in whatever text is between the quotation marks. So there was no prose indicating the name of the character speaking, the gender, or any of the pronouns. It was just dialogue, 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 dialogue. And so when presented with this contest, because I had been told that dialogue is one of my strongest suits as a writer. Like, people have told me, hey, I really enjoy your dialogue. Your dialogue's really good. So I thought, okay, here's a chance for me to flex that muscle. So I had to decide, what are the characters even going to be talking about? And then it kind of dawned on me.
Parameters for the competition, what were they exactly, other than dialogue only? Just dialogue only?
Just that it was teen rated at most. It couldn't be M rated. And then there was really no other rules other than, like, it has to be at least, publishable on the website. So it had to be at least 1,000 words. So that was really it. But there was a lot of creative freedom for, like, what you want to have the characters talking about, or whatever situation they're going to be in. So I decided to have it be literally the talk that you would have with someone who's learning about the facts of life. So the premise became Pinkie Pie and Cheese Sandwich giving Little Cheese the talk about the birds and the bees, and having everything go wrong. So what I really wanted to do with this was to not only write the dialogue so well characterized that there would be no ambiguity as to who was talking, because I would write Pinkie Pie in her terse, quick, bubbly, rapid fire, sentences, but then also have Cheese Sandwich speaking a little bit more even-handedly opposite her. But then also having the characters say each other's names as a way of sort of preloading the next sentence. So, Pinkie Pie would say, "What do you think, Cheese Sandwich?" And then Cheese Sandwich's dialogue would be next, and you would know he's talking, which was one of the strengths of
you did it very well, because I don't think I really had any trouble figuring out who was talking when I was reading it.
Yeah.
So you did a great job at that.
As it exists now on the website, I have all of the dialogue color-coded for ease of reading, but you weren't allowed to do that for the contest. So, like, I had to just have it all be plain text.
Yeah,
So
I think I read it while it was plain text too.
Yeah. So I had to have all those character tags embedded in the dialogue itself when the characters were talking to each other. And there isn't just a few. This isn't just 2 characters talking back and forth to each other. I think that's what a lot of people did, and that makes it very easy. But what I said was, how many characters can I cram into this room? And it gets pretty absurd. It does have the comedy random tag, because I have all of the main 6 show up: Shining Armor, Cadence, Flurry Heart, Pumpkin Cake, Pound Cake, Mr. and Mrs. Cake, and I was going to have the princesses at one point. But basically, I had everyone who would reasonably be in Ponyville at that time showing up to the bakery while this is happening, because every time a new person shows up, they say, "Oh, thank goodness, here's someone who actually knows how to give the talk." Because everyone who keeps trying keeps messing it up, or is using all kinds of weird euphemisms, or it's just confusing. And the entire
Or they're
time,
so innocent
little
that they don't even know.
yeah, which
No.
was a couple of the characters were like that too. I liked how Rainbow Dash thought it was a stork that delivers the baby because she legitimately didn't know any better because she's a school dropout, which is canon. She did drop out of school, so she genuinely doesn't know how where babies come from as an adult. Uh, that's I love writing Rainbow Dash's character like that. And that's just one of many gags in that story, and it's so tight and rapid fire. In 13, just over 1,300 words, it is probably the densest comedy I've ever written in terms of just jokes per paragraph.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was
So
really good.
it didn't end up winning. A lot of people thought that it should have won. I had people joining the competition after I had published this story purely to be judged against it. I had other judges say, "Hey, if it was up to me, I would have had this story win," and that's enough for me. I mean, it's got a tremendously good ratio in terms of likes. I don't have a ton of teen rated or E rated stories, and to have one of these do as well as it did is a really great feather to put in my hat.
Yeah, yeah. You've got enough ELT rated stories that I've read quite a few of them, more than most other authors. So you've got a good range there. So Leviathan, what did you think about the story?
Well, I actually reread it earlier today, just because like I wanted a refresher. Um, and I gotta say, just as funny the second time around. Um, Also, really great characterization. At least, like, well, eh, I get like, I guess that's up to interpretation. But like the way, uh, like he has the characters speaking, it is like he said, easy, like really easy to just listen to it and know who's talking, which is good because I mostly listen to fan fictions because I use the auto reader function to basically just uh, listen to fan fictions on the website. That's kind of how I get through so many so fast. But like just listening to like the monotone auto reader, I can still tell. Yep, that's Rarity talking. Uh, that's Pinkie Pie. Um, and like I don't know, it helps to like call out the character tags. But even so, um, it's just it's hilarious, really well written. Um, and yeah, it definitely shows his skills in dialogue. Pretty sure I also entered that particular contest. Uh, I wrote a story about the CMCs plus the extended CMCs, meaning Babs and oh, what's her name, the Griffin.
Gabby.
Anyways,
Right, yeah, Gabby.
Gabby. Yeah, yeah. So I also went with like a bunch of characters discussing a certain topic. Um, in this case, it was which princess is the best princess, and they all eventually landed on Flurry Heart. Um, but yeah, I definitely think that I definitely agree that Shakes' story should have won. Um, like
Yeah,
there were some other really good ones, but like I don't know, just matter of personal taste, I guess.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
I don't know what the other ones were. Um, like basically, unless a story is in my catalog of audiobooks that I've made, I haven't read it. Like I've never read stories and not recorded myself reading one because I figure it'd be a waste to just read a story and not have it recorded for content. So, yeah, I have no idea what actually won that contest. And maybe I should find out and maybe see if it's worth doing a reading of.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I don't mind having not won. There were 94 submissions to that story, to that
wow.
contest,
Oh, yeah.
so there was no shortage of competition.
Yeah, I definitely noticed. I think I went on the website one day and I saw like there was just a flood of dialogue only stories. And I think I did read a couple of others that were part of that, yeah, dialogue only contest. I think I had like 2 weeks of my channel where it was just dialogue only stories because they were flooding the site at the time. So, yeah.
Yeah. I definitely didn't have any like delusions about winning or anything. Um, I mostly just wanted to see if I could actually make a cohesive story that was dialogue only, and I did. It
Yeah.
was a nice, fun little challenge.
Yeah, cool. Um, all right. If we're done with that story, if there's anything else you want to say,
Nope.
all right then.
Yeah.
Now we'll go on to probably one of my favorite stories I've ever read of Shakespearicles, The Ballad of Smarty Pants.
2 + 2 is 4, and love is more than a notebook full of memories. We swore we'd never lose, we'd never bend. You were my first, my forever friend. And though the shadows took their claim, you found me, you called my name, held me close and said again, I'll never leave you in the dark again.
And it was really fun to make an audiobook of because I was able to, put so much, emotion basically I used AI generated music and I was able to put in the actual keywords that were applicable to, each scene in the story. And I don't know if you think, what you thought about the music that was put in at Shakes, like whether it really hit the emotional notes well.
No, it was very well done.
Yeah, and it's one of my favorites, and I think it's going to be, because I think it was this year, it's going to be, one of the top ones of my top 10 of this year. Like each year, at the end of each year, I do a top 10 favorite stories that I recorded that year. And I think, yes, Ballad of Smarty Pants could be number one. I'll have to go through all the stories I've read and rank them to my personal taste. But yeah, it's definitely up there, and it was one of the most fun things I've read. It was also very long, a really big project. And I actually, it was a story where I've got a video where I actually went through, like it's like 4 hours long. I actually went through the entire process of creating it. Like on my channel, there's several videos of different stages in my audiobook making process. I've got a recording of me reading the story itself, and then recording of me doing the editing, recording of me making the music for it through Suno. So I think there's a really interesting series of videos you can go through that shows the whole process. And I happened to decide to do it for that story. There would be way too much work involved to do a making of for every single story. So I just decided to do it for that one. And that's another reason why it's one of my favorite readings I've ever done. And it just hits so many emotional notes. And I think I did tear up a few times. I'm not crying, you're crying, sort of thing. And I think it really hits in a similar way to the classic what's that one called? The Rainbow Dash in a Box story. What was that called?
My
My
Little
little
Dashie.
Dashie.
Yeah, My Little Dashie. It really gave me that sort of vibe. And, I think, it was even better than My Little Dashie in terms of its the emotional response that I got from it. So yeah, enough about that. Tell me about your inspiration for the story and all that, Shakes.
Well, my inspiration for the Ballad of Smarty Pants comes directly from the source for the cover art, which was the comic Growing Pains by Barry Ponch, which I have linked in the source for the image. I wrote this story when that first comic came out. There are sequel comics that have been written for it after I wrote my story, which were written in response to my story, because the comic has a very bittersweet ending. I wouldn't even actually. It's just a sad ending. It's just a sad ending, and I saw that comic, and it honestly it got under my skin. It messed me up. I was not okay, and so I wrote the Ballad of Smarty Pants as a means of coping. So I had to write this sad story to give it a happy ending, because the comic didn't. And because I've
It
seen
was
Toy
still a very
Story
sad
2,
ending though. Like, the fact that Smarties was alone for that long, like a millennium probably. That's what really
it's
hit me about the
it,
story.
it's left ambiguous, but it could be however long. And that's one of the things that you get, you learn from experience as a writer, is that if you were going to write horror, if you're going to make a horror movie, you don't have to show the monster. In fact, the more you show the monster, the less scary it is.
I think
You
it
don't
could
have.
have been on theme for like a Halloween October story, because it had those that's kind of existential horror sort of vibes.
No, that wasn't really the meaning of what I was going for, but but leaving certain aspects about it ambiguous. You don't have to, have every excruciating detail, because the person who's reading it is going to fill in those blank spaces, especially if it's an emotional blank space that they're going to imprint upon. The Ballad of Smarty Pants hits in the same way that like a movie like Toy Story 2 does, or Marley and Me, or Old Yeller, because when you have things like personified toys or pets, when tragedies happen to those characters, it's so much worse than when it happens to a person. Because when you have like an adult in a war movie and they get gunned down, we can imagine that this person may have had some kind of sin. And yes, while it's unfortunate that they're dying, it's not as big of a tragedy as, say, like a dog being killed in a car accident. Because even if a dog is a nightmare to take care of, because they're a pest and they're loud and they're noisy and they make a mess, and they break things, for they're still innocent creatures. And the same thing goes for personified toys, which is why Toy Story 2 was such a sad movie, because you have these things that are happening to these toys that they don't deserve. And then the same thing with the Ballad of Smarty Pants. Smarty Pants goes through these ordeals in this story that she doesn't deserve, because the characters around her don't necessarily understand what's happening, which is why I purposefully wrote it from her perspective, because now you're taking the place of this character. You're putting yourself in that character's shoes. Now it's not just a prose talking about things happening to an inanimate object. These things are happening to you. And now you're the one feeling these feelings. You're feeling abandoned. You're feeling hurt. And that's one of the things that all of this was done with very careful intention when I wrote this, because I meant for it to pull at your heartstrings. That was the purpose of it, because I needed the readers to feel the pain I felt when I saw the comic.
Yeah, I
And
didn't
then,
realize it came from a comic.
yeah, so like when you go to the source on the Fimfiction page, if you hover over the image for the cover art, there's the source button. You can click that, and it'll take you directly to the source for the cover art. And there's the comic by the original artist. It's still there on their DeviantArt page. And after I wrote this, I gave them a link to the story. I said, "Hey, I wrote a story for your comic," and then they read it, and then they, loved it so much that they ended up having to write their comics as sequels to their comic to kind of fall in line with the happy ending that I had to write for the story. Because a lot of people had their hearts broken when they read that comic.
Wait, so
Which again,
what was the bad ending?
so in the source of the comic, we see the life of the comic is called Growing Pains by Barry Paunch. Barry, Pawnch, Barry Paunch on DeviantArt. And so we see the life of Smarty Pants as she exists in Twilight's imagination, kind of like Calvin and Hobbes, how Hobbes comes to life in Calvin's imagination. And so we see this character, this toy, being alive in Twilight's imagination alongside her as she grows up. And then, as we see Twilight moving through the series, meeting her friends, casting the Want It Need It spell, Big Mac running away with Smarty Pants at the end of Lesson Zero, and then him returning it. And so then now we head into the fanon section of the comic, where it's the what if, what happened to Smarty Pants after that scene when Big Mac left with her. And so she gets returned, and then we see Twilight becoming an alicorn and becoming a princess and becoming an adult, essentially. And Smarty Pants, as a result, becomes abandoned as Twilight becomes preoccupied with her responsibilities as an adult. And at the end, Smarty Pants says, "I was a good friend, wasn't I?" And then in the final panel, she goes from being the alive version of the toy back to being the inanimate object, because in Twilight's mind, she has forgotten about Smarty Pants as an imaginary friend, and it goes from being a character back to being a thing,
Right.
which is like dying.
Yeah. And of course, there's the classic 2 + 2 = 4 that you repeated a lot in the story, which I thought was like, I thought it was fun how much it was repeated. It was like, it was a really iconic part of the fic. Where did that idea come from?
Again, that was lifted straight from the comic. So
Okay.
I would invite our listeners to find the. I mean, if you want to add a link in the description below this podcast, it's featured all the way up until the end, where she's got the little notepad and she's trying to show it off, like, "Hey, don't forget about me. I did a good job." In that sort of like innocent plea of like, "Hey, I did the right thing. I did the right thing. Why am I being punished?"
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Leviathan, did you want to say anything about the story?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing basically just hits a very raw nerve in me about like how like as people grow up, they put their childhoods aside and adopt a more cynical worldview, and basically just leave their leave the large chunks of themselves behind. It's something that I've personally tried to reverse, in all honesty, because like I don't know about anyone else, but
Well,
I
yeah,
just
I've definitely gotten a lot more cynical over the years. I was first watching My Little Pony at a time when I was a lot more full of optimism and you know, uh, felt like I could enjoy life forever. And yeah, just realizations, things I've learned as I've become older have made me pretty cynical about the whole world in general. And I think that's kind of, yeah, you start to lose that innocence, that ability to find joy that you used to have. Like you don't find joy as often anymore. Like I think of, like I watched the movies, the Inside Out movies recently, and I was going
Yeah.
through a really tough time where I was about to get a job at a chicken factory, more than likely. And it was terrifying to me, the thought that I would probably be having to watch chickens be slaughtered and then clean up their guts off the floor and stuff like that at this job. And the night before I was going for the interview, I decided to watch Inside Out. And in that movie, I really related to how I've lost my joy in life. And it rarely seems to show up anymore. Sadness is there a lot more often. Anger, all that. And I felt like the movie was like you know, a metaphor for how a lot of us start to feel as adults. Yeah, so yeah, sorry for
Yeah,
interrupting with
it's
my little
just like
personal story there.
oh, you're good. Yeah, it just frustrates me that so many people, my parents included, are just like dead set on like, yes, once you reach a certain age, you have to start acting a different way. You have to be more miserable. You can't enjoy things that you used to enjoy. Um,
Can't spend as long playing video games. You can't really
yeah,
commit to really long ones anymore.
yeah, or like having these idealistic fantasies that you write down. Um,
So I'm
yeah,
gonna
that's
make a
just
I'm gonna
So,
make a recommendation for the two of you guys. I would recommend watching BoJack Horseman if you haven't already.
oh yeah, I totally did. I
oh
did
yeah.
it while I was drunk, which was a pretty bad idea. And
That was probably a pretty
when
I
bad
first
idea.
started watching it while
when I get like on a binge, I will often watch BoJack Horseman clips as a kind of re-traumatizing of myself. So
Yeah.
yeah, I sure am familiar
Now,
with BoJack.
now
yeah.
on a second pass, I would accuse BoJack Horseman, the show, as being a little self-indulgent at times. It probably could have done well with maybe being, one season less in terms of the amount of filler that there was, compared to the important episodes. But
Yeah.
it's a hard show to watch. It's a hard show to recommend because it has a lot of parallels to modern life, especially in a
Yeah.
world of cynicism and escapism, where everything around you feels artificial, like being in Hollywood for BoJack. But I think two of the big takeaways that are really important is that being cynical and being miserable is easy. It's a trap. It's a hole that's very easy to fall into. And if you don't have the will to get out of it, life will make sure that you stay there. But ultimately, you're responsible for your own happiness. And when BoJack is told this in the show, someone says to BoJack, "You're responsible for your own happiness." He says, "How can I be responsible for my own happiness? I can't even be responsible for my own breakfast." But really, that's what it comes down to, is that, like, yes, life is going to come at you with all these challenges and all these hardships. And yes, you have to go to work all day, and then you have to do chores to keep your house together. You have to run errands. And maybe you might have a couple of hours of free time to indulge in something that makes you happy. But ultimately, you are responsible for seeking that out. You have to make that time. And it's not easy, but it gets easier. It's like developing a habit. It's like developing any habit, okay? It takes work to establish it at first, but it does get easier. It's hard, but you got to do it every day. You have to practice mindfully trying to be happy. Like, it's not intuitive, but it can be learned. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. The more you find happiness in the small things, like, hey, I caught the green light, or hey, I got this. I have a cookie, and you just enjoy the cookie, and that might be your only happiness for the whole day. But you have to focus on that, because as long as you focus on the negative, that's going to color your whole worldview.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
wise words from Shakes as usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could probably be a motivational
Yeah, like,
speaker.
oh, I could definitely see that. Yeah. I just, I guess getting back to the topic at hand, the Ballad of Smarty Pants just, I feel like perfectly captures the attitude of like, um, fuck society. If I want to play with my childhood toy and like just escape and like remember the good times again, then like there is no harm in that. And I'm going to do that even if I have to put the entire government on hold for a day. Um, it's just, I don't know. It also kind of reminds me of my own personal life journey where like I also um, fell into that trap of cynicism. Um, but like uh, over the past few years, I've been um, basically retaking my smarty pants. I've been I found my smarty pants again, and I was able to um, actually enjoy things that like I've known that I would enjoy, but like I haven't allowed myself to because that's like a childish thing. That's you should only enjoy like adult things. But
Yeah, I found myself kind of reluctantly watching G5. I'd just watch each episode once and be done with it and not really think about it very much. And it just like doesn't compare to the feeling I had, during those early Brony days, 2011, 2012, when things were a lot more optimistic. And I tried to watch the new Tell Your Tale, whatever, those shorts of G5 on YouTube, and I watched a couple, and I just thought, I want to do something more interesting, even if it's probably learning more about the bad things in the world. It just feels like I'm wasting my time maybe trying to just enjoy this childish stuff, and I never ended up getting around to watching the G5 stuff. It just doesn't seem to hit anymore. I sometimes get into a mood where I do want to learn about, how corrupt, the economy is and all that sort of stuff, instead of watch a, happy-go-lucky cartoon. I just kind of, find it hard to be in the mood for joyful stuff, I guess.
Well, something that I would caution you about, especially in the modern age, which, like I said, the more you focus on the negative, the more you're going to see it. That's especially true now with the internet, with machine learning and the algorithms and whatnot.
Yeah, and
The
Facebook forcing you to, be traumatized.
well, I have not used Facebook in like a decade.
Yeah, I only use
I
Facebook to advertise my channel, and that's it, and then I get off of it.
Yeah, I stopped using Facebook back in 2014, and I haven't really looked back. But what I mean is, like, especially for YouTube, for example, YouTube knows that videos and clickbait titles that upset you, they know that that will engage you because you will click on it
Yeah.
because it's upsetting, because you want to see this thing. And there's really powerful psychology and brain chemistry that goes along with this. But that's why I tell people you have to be mindful about it, because the more you click on that, the more Facebook will show you. Because well, not Facebook, YouTube or Facebook included. But the more that you engage with that sort of stuff, the more you will see it everywhere. Because even if you get off Facebook, even if you get off YouTube, you can't get away from Google, because Google has its tendrils in almost every website. You know, in terms of the way it collects data and then regurgitates it back to you in pop-up ads or banner ads or wherever. All of that is all coming from that same data collection. So what you have to do is you have to mindfully click on things that are not negative. Like I go out of my way to not watch the news. I watch relevant news. Like I want to know what the weather's going to be tomorrow. I want to know what's going on like in my town. But like if I don't need to worry whether or not the world is on the brink of World War III because of something that's going on a different continent, because if the nukes fly, there's really not a whole lot I can do about that until I hear the emergency alert broadcast come on. So there's no sense in me
Preach it.
staying up. There's no sense in me worrying about that. There's no sense in losing sleep or getting gray hair over things you have no control over. And that's what you have to do. You have to manage your anxiety by deciding, what can I do about this? If there's nothing you can do about it, get it off your mind. And that comes back to, just looking for positive things. I would say, go through, like, if you need to like clear out your cookies on your browser and just start a whole fresh YouTube uh, algorithm, then do that, and then click on cat videos. Just spend 2 days consciously doing nothing but clicking on cat videos or
Yeah.
just cooking videos, innocuous
As you
stuff like
know,
that.
from my activity in the channel, I usually watch at least one cat video a day, like as a
Yeah.
essential, thing.
And that's good. It's good for your mental health. It's free serotonin. And also, the positive thing about that is it has lasting effects because it's training the algorithm to show you more cute videos, because that's what you'll click on. And yeah, if there's ads, then you're going to see those ads. They want you to see ads. They want
Yeah,
put
well, I
ads in
use
videos that
Brave
they know you're
browser.
going to click.
I don't think YouTube is usable anymore without some kind of ad blocker. Like
Yeah, but that's a different conversation. But I'm
yeah,
just saying, like, you can take control of the content that you're exposed to. And I think more people need to realize that, because right now there's a lot of people who are stuck in these echo chamber bubbles of like all this horrible stuff is happening all the time and they worry all the time about it, and they end up getting high blood pressure and have a stroke because they've been exposed to so much negative stuff, when they can take control and be responsible for their own happiness and for their own stress, you know, by knowing how the system is manipulating you so you can avoid it.
yeah, cool. Let's get some words in from Leviathan, if you've got anything to say.
I mean, basically, I kind of already do that. I actively go out of my way to like not look at like national news. In fact, like the most I hear about the news usually comes from one of my German friends who does keep their eye on like the national American news, just because like stuff that happens in America tends to also affect Europe, I guess. Um, and like I tend to have to be the one who's like, calm down, dude. It's not going to be at the end of the world, but if it is, then there's nothing you can do about it. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
well,
yeah, I mean, like, if, like Shake said, if the nukes are going to fly, then there's nothing you can do about it. So you can't worry about that. All you can worry about is like your local um, community, I guess.
yeah. I mean,
Find out
in
what's
my
going on, like immediately around you.
yeah, in my
And
local community,
yeah,
it's rent prices that are going sky high. That yeah, I try to
yeah,
attend protests to go against and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway,
nice.
I think that's enough negativity for now. Uh, I guess
Yeah, let's
that
get
was a
back to the
pretty
ponies.
big discussion that came off of that story, Ballad of Smutty Pants. Um, Now I'm just going to go into a couple of other segments. I would like to know if you have anything to say, Shakes, about your plans for the future of your stories. Anything cool that you're planning to write? Anything you want to plug?
Well, I'm currently running Jingleness, so that is the site-wide exchange on Fimfiction of Secret Santa Story Exchange. So you make a request for a story, and someone else who you don't know is going to write that story for you in secret, and in exchange, you're going to get somebody else's request that you have to write secretly for them. And then when Christmas comes, that whole week, we exchange the stories, and everybody gets a gift and gets to give a gift that they've written for somebody else. So
Cool.
I am
When do the
also
stories arrive? Like on
the
Christmas Day?
exchange. The exchange starts Christmas Eve, so there'll be stories. There's so many. We have 110 participants this year,
Oh yeah.
and we don't want to flood the site all in one day. That would be unfair to each of the writers to have their stories get buried. So we've split it up. The exchange starts on the 24th. It goes the 24th, 25th, the 26th, the 27th, all the way to the 28th, I believe, which is the following Sunday.
Oh yeah.
That way, everyone has a chance to get some exposure on the front page. And so, in addition to running that exchange program, I'm also participating. So I will be writing my story to contribute to that event. So that will be coming up at the end of this month.
Yeah.
Currently, and I'm just checking right now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 incomplete stories sitting in my to be written pile. They all have cover art and synopses. Some of them have as many as 7,000 words written for them already. Another one has 6,000 words. They just need to be finished. The problem is I have like kind of a mouse and cookie syndrome where I'll start working on one and then I'll have another idea. So I'll start working on that one before I come back to this one. I have ongoing stories like a non-steep tissue
Man,
massage. Which,
I am very
I-
bad at continuing a project that I've lost interest in, or moved on to something else. I find it hard to I find it hard to not just finish what I'm doing now before I move on to something else. If I move on to something else, I'll probably abandon the last thing. So
Well,
yeah, that's a pretty good
one of
skill
the
you got there.
things One of the things I tell all writers of any skill level is never delete anything. It's never useless. It's none of it's trash. Just put it away somewhere else out of the way, because later on you may come back to that concept and say, "Oh yeah, I thought I had written part of this." An example I'll use is "Dost Thou Wish to Build a Snowman," which was my contribution to Jingle Miss last year.
I was tempted to
The
read that one, but I think it was a bit long. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I've got time for that. But that was one I was considering.
So that is
Wait, I thought that
4,600
was like 2
words.
years ago.
Yeah, maybe I'll do
20,
it
yes,
for my. Maybe I'll do it this December.
no, you're right. It
As
was
a
that was
Christmas.
actually for 2022. So that was a few years ago. But funny enough, the skeleton of that story I had started writing a couple of years prior to even that, because originally it was supposed to be about Twilight Sparkle becoming the leader of Equestria, and being so stressed out about all these problems, that were being presented to her during day court.
Because I was
From
like, it
all
was
these,
like stress instead of snow powers.
well, not quite. But it's just Twilight, getting overwhelmed with all this anxiety of all these problems that she had to deal with, and so Princess Luna decides to kind of like take her for a walk to help her kind of deal with some of the stress, and she takes Twilight's hoof and she takes off into the sky, and they fly into space, and Luna uses her magic to protect them from the void of the vacuum, but they end up flying around the moon, and then as they come around the moon, they see Equestria rising above the moon as they come back around again. And Twilight holds her hoof up, and she realizes that she can cover up the entire world with her hoof, and all of her problems go away. And it makes her realize how small everything really is compared to like the whole world, like the existence of this pale blue marble hanging in the void. That's based on what's known as the overview effect, which is an emotional psychological experience that happens to astronauts when they go to space and they see the world from space. And it's one of those things that's hard to explain, and you don't really know what it's like until you experience it yourself. Anyways, I never finished that story, and ended up just sitting in the pile and I never got done. So when Jinglemas came around in 2022, the prompt was for Celestia and Luna, and so I took that concept of characters going, orbiting the moon and then coming back and seeing the world from far away, and I completely changed the reason and the outcome, and that was where I got "Dost thou wish to build a snowmare," which has nothing to do with anything I just described to you. But after having heard this, if you go and read that story now, you will see where the idea came from in terms of the usage.
Yeah, I kind of
And
assumed
that's
it
why
was a reference to Frozen.
no,
Ah,
I mean yes, only only in the asking of the question, do you want to build a snowman? That's literally the only reference. Other than that, it has nothing to do with Frozen at all. But it's one of those stories. It's one of my E-rated stories that I'm really quite proud of. It did tremendously well in the exchange, and on the website. But that just goes to show that like no work is ever really wasted. And so I have all these stories that I have, in various forms of completeness, these ideas that I've written down just so I don't forget about them. Because that's the worst thing, is to have a really great idea but then have it get forgotten because you never wrote it down. Because ideas can only exist perfectly in your head for so long, but a story is not a story until pen is put to paper and it has an audience to read it. So I have these bodies of text that I've written, but they're not stories. They're not stories until they have readers. And that's what I tell people who have stories that they've written that they are worried about publishing. I said, no, man, that's not a story. It's not a story until it has a reader. And that's that's something that every writer needs to understand. Like you could be a writer, but you're not an author until you've written a story, and it's not a story until it has readers. Even if it's just a proofreader,
all right, cool. Lots of cool writer tips there.
Oh yeah.
Now I'll
I
move
personally
on.
just have
Yeah, all right.
a note on my like phone notes app where literally I just, whenever I think of a story idea that I think would be cool, I just write it down, even if it's just like
Yeah.
like a even just like a partial thought of an idea. Like, hey, this crossover would be pretty interesting if I tried writing that.
Yeah, it's sort of like when you
Um,
have a dream and you got to write it down or you'll forget it immediately.
yep.
That happens to me a lot. So now we will wrap things up. I'd like to know each of your favorite pony and episode of G4, or if it's G5 for some reason, go ahead.
Well, I think Celestia will always be my favorite. She's one of my favorite characters to write. And the episode featuring her and Luna in a Canterlot problem. Oh no, a royal problem. That is one of my favorite episodes of all time. I almost died when that episode came out because when Daybreaker makes her big appearance, I was in the middle of drinking my soda and I was so excited I choked on it and I had a coughing fit so bad that I ended up headbutting my desk and knocking myself unconscious. I had to watch the rest of the episode later on outside the
Wow.
stream as a rerun,
Wow.
but that will always
Holy
stand
shit.
out. Yeah. So like it was that good. And it's funny because like I'm talking with people in the Jingle Miss group about the story prompts that they've gotten, and a lot of it is prompting characters that they don't know very well because they haven't even seen those episodes. And to those people who have G4 episodes that they haven't even seen yet, I am both envious and ashamed of you.
Yeah.
I, you know,
On the one
I
hand,
I
kind
don't
of want to make a
remember
poll
much
and ask
about
people.
episodes after season 5, I think, because I only watched them once and probably while drunk. So there's a bit of a, yeah, I might have caused myself a bit of a void in the later seasons.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go. You get to enjoy it all over again. Like now, for me, I'm the same way with Archer. You know, when I go to watch Archer, I usually have a beer in my hand, and I find that I've gone through entire seasons and watched them over again. Like I don't really remember this, probably because I've been drinking too much, which you know I don't really recommend. It's not a very good lifestyle and one that I've been trying to get out of.
Yeah, I mean, I had a tradition of drinking, saving up like, 10 or so episodes, and then going on a drinking binge and watching them, each year. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, let's go to Leviathan. Tell us your favorite pony in episode.
my personal favorite pony probably have to be Spike.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Rainbow
Um,
Dash, because we have our little arguments.
no, Rainbow Dash is best. Rainbow Dash is the best pony, but my personal favorite pony. Oh wait, no, my personal favorite pony would have to be Sunset Shimmer because um, I have her story of like um, her like redemption arc really also hits home with me. Um,
Oh yeah.
but
Well, I'm more interested
as
in
far
your
as
choice of
favorite,
Spike, though.
I mean, it's like he's like the best little brother in the entire series.
I kind of find it
And
funny
I
how
will die on the hill that he is Twilight's little brother. Um, that is just one of the things that I will not compromise on.
I mean,
Um,
that's not
but
even a hill to die on. Like he's adopted. Adopted brothers are still brothers.
yeah,
yeah,
I kind of find it funny how like there's a lot of memes about how Twilight just basically abuses Spike. So it's like an abusive
Well, I mean,
sister.
in the early seasons, I would say in up to and through season 4, even you used to be able to make a drinking game out of Spike abuse
Yeah, yeah. I actually
because it
considered
would happen
making a
so
video.
frequently.
I considered making a video one time, just clipping out all the time Spike gets abused, but I didn't
I
end
think those
up getting around
supercuts
to it.
already exist. I could find them
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, they probably already
oh
exist.
yeah, but yeah. My favorite episode would
Well,
probably has to be Winter Wrap Up because even after don't get me wrong, there's some really awesome episodes. Like I'm a big fan of It's About Time, Lesson Zero, um, all that jazz. But like
well, it's
I don't know,
definitely
there's
one of the
just
most
something
iconic
timeless and
songs.
classic about
Yeah,
there's just something timeless and classic about Winter Wrap Up. The absolute banger of a song, um, and also just all the character interactions. Um,
yeah. You see them all
especially
really get
like
characterized.
yeah, but also just the interaction between Spike and Twilight is just, in my opinion, just like peak, um, like sibling behavior, um, like the good-natured ribbing, Spike encouraging Twilight to use magic, and then immediately throwing her under the bus after Applejack gets mad at her. Uh, just like their whole thing of just like always again, it's hard to put into words, but just their whole dynamic is
I, I
just
would I would
chef's
argue
kiss.
that most people, when they get upset about Twilight Sparkle getting wings, what they were actually upset about was her losing part of her character in the process, because we all remember the early seasons of Twilight Sparkle being the snarky, smart person, who's sort of like
Yeah.
the voice of reason among all these crazy friends that she had, including Spike. And in any given episode, either she or Spike was going to be the one holding the idiot ball, and the other person had to be the voice of reason. And when that would go back and forth, where Twilight was acting crazy and Spike had to, talk her down from her anxiety, or Spike would have one of his dumb ideas and Twilight would inevitably make fun of him for it. Like, that's part of that great dynamic, and it was one of the reasons why he was so integral to having him in the show in the first place.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think maybe Applejack is more the normalizer of the group? The down to earth one that sort of brings things back to base
I
level.
I want to agree and say yes, but unfortunately, she was flanderized a lot, especially in the later seasons, for the sake of comedy, and it kind of made her like out of character, where she was needlessly uh, backwards, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially like
Although her first episode,
Applejack's Day Off was like a real assassination of her character. Like there was plenty of nonsense things that she was smarter than having her do.
Yeah.
yeah, and they
Like,
also
she isn't
started her off
blind.
with her
She
first
wouldn't like.
episode. It was yeah,
Yeah.
Applejack's first episode had her, be pretty crazy in that first time. But that was, I guess, all about, what tiredness does to you. Anyway, go on, Levi.
Yeah. And stubborn pride.
Leviathan. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
What? Oh, I was just saying that, like, it was more of her stubborn pride, not like blindness to how to run her farm more efficiently. It was just like,
There's that funny scene where Twilight Sparkle just does Applejack's entire job in like 2 seconds. I
oh
found
yeah,
that kind of hilarious.
Oh, at the end of Applebuck season, where she just
Yeah.
levitates all the apples.
Yeah, that was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Like the fact that that wasn't explored more, like like the Apple family just all getting together, being like, we cannot let this secret get out.
uh,
All right.
As a matter of
I've actually
fact,
read some. What? Sorry.
not to get too off topic, but like when they had just real quick, when they had the super speedy cider squeezy 6000 with Flim and Flam, there's a scene where Granny Smith tries their cider real quick, and she has this really scared look on her face because it was actually good before they disabled the quality control on it, and like they just completely like glossed over that later on. Because up until that point, no one else
Yeah.
had had a chance to try the cider, and she was the only one that tried it. And she's like, had that like look on her face, like, "Oh dang, we are screwed." But, anyways, we've gotten way off topic here.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you have anything else to say about favorite pony in episode, Leviathan, go ahead.
Other than just like, I just love the like Spike's deadpan deliver of like when Twilight is making that terrible bird's nest. Just my all-time favorite joke is just when Rarity is like, "Oh, I'm sure it could be used for," and Spike just straight up just goes, "an outhouse." Like, just his tone, his like facial expression just always gets me.
That nest needs to be condemned.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just, again, it's just pure instant classic. It's not like, I don't think it's like it has like the highest quality animation or like the absolute best writing, but there's just something magical about that episode that just like, even if I might have like a more favorite episode, like for a little bit, that episode will always just come back as like good old faithful, always
Yeah, winter wrap-up
Oh,
is a
maybe
classic
that's
for a
not on my
reason.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I like hated Rarity for the first half of probably more than half of season 1. Like, she was bottom tier for me. And then she had a couple of banger episodes, and Rarity went right up to second place and has remained there since. So, yeah.
So who's number one?
Fluttershy, of course.
It's
Yeah.
in the name, really.
Eh?
Yeah. Yeah, the mystery Fluttershy fan. It's pretty, yeah.
All right.
Okay, so now the last idea I had for a segment. So I'm probably gonna make some sort of music on Suno to like give each of these segments like a musical interlude. So now I'm not sure this is what I'll call it, but now let's head into Leviathan's headcanon segment.
Leviathan Eclipse's headcanon extravaganza.
Give us one of your
Oh
cool,
boy.
big fan theories, fan canon thingies. Tell us some
Oof.
cool
Okay.
ideas you've got.
Okay. I guess one fan theory that I have is that ponies are not like strictly herbivores. Like in the Pinkie Pie's "Gotta Share, Gotta Care" song, she says both, like in response to in reference to ponies and buffalo, she says both our diets, I should mention, are strictly vegetarian. However, my personal headcanon is that Pegasi regularly need to eat fish in order to have a higher protein diet, and also to also for their own oil production for their weatherproofing of their feathers, and that other ponies can also digest meat, but they just don't because of moral reasons, because cows and sheep are sentient.
Yeah, they don't address that much. That
But
the cows and sheep seem to be, on a similar level of intelligence too. Yet they still herd them up on a farm like animals, even though they can speak. And
yeah,
all
it's it can get kind of uncomfortable if you think too hard about it. But yeah, we do actually see Fluttershy feeding fish to her pet otters. So that's just
so the
that
animals
in
aren't
my opinion, that's
herbivores.
just naturally just a thing that Pegasi just do. Also griffins, who probably also eat meat other than fish, but I also imagine that Canterlots would feed griffin dignitaries fish, and maybe either Sunset or Twilight would sneak some.
Well, just considering the fact that griffins are half lion, half eagle, both of which are obligate carnivores.
Yeah,
What does that word mean? Obligate. Ob.
It means they
it
have
means
to
you
eat
have to
meat.
yeah.
Like when you see these people who are putting their cats on a vegan diet, that's
Oh man,
animal abuse.
that is absolutely
Yeah.
animal abuse.
Because cats must get their calories from protein, from meat-based protein, because that's just how their digestive system works.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, as humans, we're rare in that we're omnivores. We can get our calories from both meat protein and plant-based protein and carbohydrates. Most animals are either wired to do one or the other. If you feed a cow a hamburger, first of all, that's weird, but also they're not going to be able to process that protein. they might get some from the bread. They'll get some calories from the bread, but the meat is just going to pass right through them and probably make them sick.
Yeah. And if you feed a cat grass, then
Oh
actually,
man,
I'm
my
not sure.
mum's
I mean,
dog ate grass all the time and got
Well-
sick from it.
oh yeah,
Well, okay, so dogs can be omnivores. What they'll do is sometimes if they're feeling sick to their stomach, they can induce vomiting in themselves by eating grass. They're doing that to puke on purpose because they feel sick and they're trying to puke. It's like a human putting their finger down their throat to puke. That's essentially what that's what that activity is about. But anyways, moving on.
Yeah, so
yeah. So yeah, Pegasi are obligate omnivores, I guess you could say, in my headcanon. But also, like, some Pegasi like to eat meat that isn't just fish. So, like, maybe they go hunting in the Everfree. Maybe they have a guilty pleasure of eating the heads off of live mice. But in any case, yeah.
Well, this podcast took a turn.
Head. Another headcanon of mine is that Flitter and Cloud Chaser are siblings, twins, to be specific.
well, they certainly look like they are.
I know there's like, yeah, I
I'm
know
pretty
there's
sure
nothing like.
that's just canon.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't think there's anything overtly stating that they are, but like, to me, they just look like identical twins. And that's just how they are in my head, and how I write them.
I mean, to that point, the Spa twins, which they are listed as in most of the the source content, like on the Hasbro website or
I
in the
think they're
game
called.
in the
I think they're called
the
Aloe and
Gameloft
Lotus.
games. Yeah, Aloe and Lotus.
Lotus.
But they're referred to as the Spa twins. Now they have opposite color schemes. One has a pink mane and a blue body. The other one has a blue mane with a pink body. But they're otherwise their hairstyle and their body and their eyes and faces, they're identical. So they're called the Spa twins. And there's plenty of cases like that where like they don't actually say that in the show. Like they don't ever say, "Oh, my sister Lotus" or whatever. But you know, it's implied. So it's canonically implied.
Yeah. I also have this kind of a bit stranger headcanon that ponies are a lot less horny than humans, like to the point where most ponies don't actually pair up for mating. But like the ponies who do tend to have a lot of offspring. Like in the case of I can't remember his name, but that one Wonderbolt trainee guy who needed his
Soren?
friend to like, something like that. Like how he was saying like he was always ignored because he had like a dozen siblings or something. Now I don't think that like every pony pairing that like has that many kids. That's probably a higher, still like high on the higher percentile. But in general, my headcanon is that like each pony pairing has like a minimum of 2 kids, unless like other reasons force them not to. But basically, yeah, just ponies usually just live out their lives, more focused on fulfilling their like the itch that makes them want to do the thing that they got their cutie marks in, instead of just seeking out a partner for reproduction.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to sort of speculate about the whole idea of cutie marks and how it kind of defines you for the rest of your life, whether you like it or not. That could be an interesting discussion to have, but probably at another time. I'll just let you finish off your whatever point you're making, and then I think we'll start to wrap up the show.
Like, I'm just saying that we see a lot of ponies just kind of. We don't see a lot of like romantic stuff happening. Like Maud and Big Mac are like the two big examples,
Isn't it Marble?
and like also no Marble. Well, I'm saying like Maud with Mudbriar, Big Mac with Sugar Bell. But I will say the animators knew exactly what they were doing with all that. They knew what they were doing.
Probably one of my favorite canon pairings was pear butter and whatever the stallion was called.
Bright Mac,
Right. Yeah.
Pear Butter, and
That
Bright
was one of
Mac.
my favorite episodes.
Yeah, it was definitely a fan favorite. And it was very interesting. Yeah, it just seems that Sweetie Belle and Rarity aren't like, well, I guess Rarity was like kind of focused on finding like her Prince Charming in the first season, and like she had like a couple more celebrity crushes, but at the end, she did not appear to have any like romantic partners in the like 20-year flash forward.
What about where they ended up at the end of the final season? I think some of them paired up, like Cheese Sandwich and Pinky.
Yeah.
That might be the only one. Oh, and of course,
Yeah.
Fluttershy and Discord.
Well, if we can believe Angel Bunny at his word, but I guess like he would know. But like, yeah.
I don't want
It
to. I don't
just
want to
seems,
step on.
from my
I,
observation. But,
I don't
or
want to
what?
step on the toes of fan theory and fanon because really it's whatever you say it is how you say it is because it's fanon to you. But I think one of the things that we run into with the show is first of all it was a show for children, so they can't focus too much on romance because one that's not very appealing to half the viewers, and you're limited by like what you can have in terms of romance in a child's cartoon. And secondly, there's a lot
Yeah.
of observational bias that we have that there you have a couple families that have like large number of kids like you've got Pinkie Pie's sisters, but like when you look at like Rainbow Dash being an only child, there's other characters who we only see them in their family unit. Like you've got Sunburst and his mom, you've got Sally Glimmer and her dad. That isn't to say that they don't have other family members, but we're limited in terms of what we see in the scope of the show. So the average tends to be closer to only one child per parents if they have kids at all. And I think that just because of a couple of observational biases and the nature of the show itself, which is kind of restrictive on having romance. And so uh, I I guess that's where that sort of theory that they would be less romantic could stem from, based on that observation. But I think it's kind of a flawed take because of the nature of the show itself.
Yeah,
Cool.
I could see that. But I don't know. I guess I just like. I guess it's also just a bit of projection on my part, since like I'm like also not really into the whole romance thing, at least on a personal level. I have read quite a few romance stories, but like, I
Yeah,
generally
fair
prefer
enough.
ones without it.
Yeah, cool. So I think we'll wrap it up there. Do you guys want to share your socials and how people can get in touch with you at all?
No, I'm
Like
good.
maybe shout out your Fimfiction profile.
Well, I am
Oh, well, in that case,
Shakespearicles.
it's
I'm Shakespearicles. You can find me on Fimfiction at Shakespearicles. I'm on Discord under the same handle. I'm on Steam under the same handle with the same avatar. So you'll find me everywhere.
Yep, cool.
well, I am Leviathan Eclipse on Fimfiction. If you want to check out my mediocre writings, um, that's about it.
All right, cool. Thanks for joining me. So next time I'll try to have a guest come on that is another author that I've done a lot of readings for. Obviously, there's a lot more of your stories that I've read, Shakes, but we can leave that for a part 2 after we've maybe had a couple of other guests on. And yeah, if you would like to become a member of this channel, I would very much appreciate that. I've only got 4 members at the moment. But you'll get early access for any audiobooks that I upload for in the future. Sometimes I get like a whole month ahead, and then I usually lose that whole month as I get back into video games a bit too much and I have to catch back up. But there'll also be a little bit of pre-show that we did that I recorded of us setting up, and there's a little bit of interesting discussion there. And yeah, you can get that for $1.49 Australian dollars per month. And there's some other tiers too if you want to have me read a custom story for you. So yeah, thanks for joining me, everyone. And Fluttershy and Izzy Moonbow, best pony, of course. I'm waiting
you
for
say so.
Good night,
I'm waiting for
Internet.
Leviathan to argue with me.
Oh, I've learned my lesson against arguing about best pony.
Yeah, it can
I
get
know
pretty
it in my
violent.
heart.
Yeah, it can start wars.
Good night, Internet. Remember, if somebody starts an argument with you, it's their argument to lose.
All right, goodbye.
Upper tempers.
It's the Mystery Pony Fiction Channel. Mystery. Also available as a podcast on Spotify. Pony and Dizzy Moonbow is best pony, by the way. Fiction.